Last week on Book Club Thursday, I talked about how I had wanted to tell you what books on my shelf intimidate me. After Katie had me watch this one video on YouTube, the idea kind of got stuck in my head. Plus, I'm currently reading one of the books that intimidated me, still reading it after about a month of reading it, and do not yet have anything to say about it specifically. So I thought instead I would tell you what books I own, will read eventually, but right now scare the crap out of me. We'll start with really scary. This is House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. One of my friends recommended this, and I trust her judgment implicitly, but it's not only about 700 pages long, but it's also supposed to be both confusing and scary because of its format and its content, about a man who goes mad trying to read these notes left about a documentary about a house that no longer appears to exist. So between all of that complication, plus the fact that I don't like scary things anyway, see the fact that I have only read one Stephen King book in my life, it's a very intimidating book for me, even though I hunted for a couple years to find it. Now, if a 700-page book intimidated me, you can bet your ass that a 1,300-page book originally written in French is going to scare me. First of all, it is 1,300 pages. It was written back in the 1800s, and it's supposed to be extremely sad. None of which are huge selling points when I am trying to get through a book a week in order to blog about it and tell you lovely people what I think about it. So this has been on my shelf for a while. It's a beautiful copy, which I bought specifically because when a book is pretty, it intimidates me a little bit less. So hopefully this one will happen in the next few months. It's huge. It's going to probably come after the Hamilton biography, but it will get read eventually, even though I'm sure I will cry my eyes out when I do. Books actually get shorter from here because length is not the only thing about a book that can be intimidating. So the next one I have is The Secret History of Wonder Woman. This is one of the few books in my life I've bought brand new, full price, and it has been over a year since I did that, which is why I don't do that. It's been a year and I still have not read this book. Part of the reason is because it's a decent size. I mean, it's only about 400 pages, but for nonfiction, that's pretty hefty. And, as I said, it's nonfiction, which takes me longer to read anyway, and I always feel like I'm back in class trying to memorize something for a test, which definitely does not help my motivation or my excitement about the book. So this has been intimidating for that reason. Otherwise, I'm really excited because women's superheroes are my jam, and I love them, and a history about how one of the most iconic women superheroes ever was created is a pretty cool concept. If Les Miserables scared me because it was sad, and The Secret History of Wonder Woman scared me because it's nonfiction, you can imagine that The Star Won't Go Out is one of the most terrifying books I have ever owned. I know as soon as I read it that I'm going to both fall in love with it and hate it because I'm going to be sobbing my heart out like a little baby because it's just that kind of book. It's the collected writings of a girl who died of cancer when she was a little bit younger than I am now. And it's a very sad story, but there's also a lot of hope in it, and I think there's a lot to get out of it. So it's definitely on my to-do list, on my to-read list. I just have to fortify and woman up and get to it. So we'll see how that goes. This last book is scary for a different reason. It's because for the last several years I've been trying and failing to write my own Robin Hood novel. Right now I'm taking a break from it and probably going to read some of the other Robin Hood stories on my shelf, but this one is probably going to have to wait because Hood by Stephen Lawhead is one of the few Robin Hood books I have that has been written in the modern day and was written for an adult audience. Therefore, I'm worried that I'm going to compare my story to it and start to see all of the ways that mine is falling short. Now, I realize mine's a draft and it will get there eventually and blah, 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 etc., etc., but to read another story that has a similar concept to yours, even if it's a concept that has been done hundreds of times, can be a very scary prospect. So there you have it. Those are the 5 books I own that I will read eventually that right now are very intimidating to me. hopefully by this time next week I will have finished the monstrosity that is The Casual Vacancy. And after that, I will probably read a couple books that are a little bit easier to swallow.